Welcome to episode 4 of the Numbers Game. Maybe this one's 4A. I'm going to work on the branding here. We're going to do 2 shows this week, kind of like last week, but executed way better by me. First, we'll do an appetizer episode, which is this one, that includes a look back at the week prior, some overall notes, and the breakdown for TNF in 7-ish minutes. Then a day or so later, we'll put out the rest of the week's info, which I think of as serving the main course. I wish that I thought of such a great idea, but it was all Drake, my producer. As always, thank you for coming to hang out, for the comments and interactions, and for helping to make this more fun, helpful, and informative, just better every single episode. I work hard on being intentional about where I spend my time and energy, and it really means a lot to me that you're choosing to spend some of yours with me. I'll thread answers to as many questions as I can throughout the episode where they make sense. And by the way, they are really smart and interesting questions. One that I want to call out is important, and it's about injuries and tracking them over the week. This is super key for actual team strategy and therefore equally important for contextualizing trends, matchups, and of course the numerical implications of the games we play surrounding the game. Wherever possible, I'm going to call out some if-then statements on players whose statuses we know are in question. So if Deebo Samuel plays, this is how it impacts the offense. If he doesn't, this is the impact to Juwan Jennings or Brandon Ayuk, the final score, etc. You get it. I filmed this well before the weekend's injuries are fully known, so I'm going to ask you for some help on how to best communicate last-minute differences. Maybe in the fantasy spreadsheet. It does update players already, in case you were looking for that too. Let me know. Oh, and one extra nerdy moment, if I may. I'm visualizing a future dashboard where you can see both injury impacts and explore high versus low probability game scripts, like a choose your own adventure that sort of gets at answering how an underdog might pull off an upset, or what player outputs would look like under certain conditions. I am not a front-end developer, so I'm working on my patience, which I am not known for, and taking one thing at a time. Also, tell me if you would use that, you think it'd be cool, something worthwhile, and I'll push it up in my queue. Now for a summary of week 3. My model went 9 of 16 straight up, 7 of 16 against the spread, and 10 of 16 on totals. Decent rebound from last week on the straight up and totals. Against the spread, that's the laggard. Cumulatively for the season through 3 weeks, I'm 56.3 straight up, 44.8 against the spread, and 54.2 on totals. As for some league-wide notes, looking at the first 3 weeks versus what I projected for win total derived power rankings and the toughest division in the NFL, the NFC North, of course, just like we all predicted. Just kidding. I had the AFC North slotted as the toughest ahead of the season, and right now, they don't even lead in the AFC. However, I do have one fact about the leading team in each North division. The NFC North Vikings are 3-0 and led by Sam Darnold, who's just the second quarterback in the Super Bowl era to throw for 2 or more touchdowns and win each of his first 3 games with another team. And who was the first one? Oh, Matthew Stafford on the 2021 Rams, who won the Super Bowl, where Kevin O'Connell was the offensive coordinator. The AFC North Steelers are also perfect and have allowed fewer than 700 total yards so far. This is only the 3rd time in the last 50 seasons that both of these criteria have been met. The other 2 times, 1978 and 1979, both seasons where the Steelers won the Super Bowl. We had 6 teams get off the winless bus in week 3. Giants, Colts, Broncos, Panthers, Ravens, and Rams, only one of which I predicted correctly. That would be the Ravens, in case you didn't remember. On to week 4. Where TNF is an NFC East matchup between the Cowboys and Giants in New York. I feel like these 2 teams played in week 1 for so many seasons that it feels weird to have them play in week 4. However, this could be a bit of a reset or season restart for at least one of these teams. On Dallas' side of the equation, the plus for Dallas, Jalen Tolbert and Kevontae Turpin both had a 4th quarter average air yard per target of over 14. Turpin's was 21.1. And each had a touchdown against Baltimore. And then when targeted, Dak Prescott had a perfect 158.3 passer rating in this final 15-minute period. Why am I bringing this up considering it was 4 total receptions? 2 reasons. 1, neither of them are named CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, or even Brandon Cooks. And 2, Dak was throwing into tight coverage all game until the 4th quarter. He threw into a tight window on 35.3% of pass attempts in week 3, the highest rate for him in a game since 2018. He was just 5 of 18 for 66 yards on such passes. The Cowboys offense adjusted, giving Dallas a chance late in the game. Big plus. The minus for Dallas, the run defense. Right now they're tracking at negative 0.27 expected points added per carry. So losing 0.27 points every time an offense runs against them. They've allowed 36 rushing first downs, the most. 14 carries where a rusher earned at least 5 yards over expected, which is also unsurprisingly the most. But let's go a little deeper though. when you look at what happens on downs when they load the box, so 8 or more defenders to strategically account for the run, which Mike Zimmer has deployed at the 4th highest rate. Things get worse. A negative 0.38 EPA per carry, and they've allowed 7 of those 5+ yards over expected runs. So half of them have come against this look that's specifically designed to stop the run. And because this is such a big deal, and we go deeper on this show, if you look at tendencies when they do load the box, it's actually only 51.7 outside run, but 55.2 to the strong side of the formation. What am I getting at? Simply put, the Cowboys get gashed on the outside most often overall. But when the Cowboys load the box, offenses use extra bodies to plow down the defense where the offense is the strongest. As for the G-men, the upside is Malik freaking Neighbors. Just to remind us all, the Browns' pass defense was the most stingy since the beginning of last season. They returned both corners who didn't allow even one touchdown as the primary defender in coverage in 2023. But last week against them, Neighbors caught 8 of 12 for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns, with 1 touchdown coming against one of those corners I talked about, Martin Emerson. For tracking's sake, the wide alignment was where he hauled in 7 passes for 70 yards and both touchdowns. 1 touchdown on an out and 1 on a post. I typically don't love pace stats, especially after just 3 weeks, but he is on pace to surpass Puka Nakua's rookie reception record. On the downside, Next Gen Stats shows that when he's under pressure, Daniel Jones has the 4th lowest completion percentage over expected at negative 10%. So he's completed 48.5% of throws under pressure. But the benchmark, or what an average result for a quarterback in the down, distance, score, and time constraints he was under, would have been completed at a 58.5% rate. No metric is perfect, but the measuring stick is the same for everyone. And because we go deep here, when he's not under pressure, that number is still negative, which is problematic. When not being pressured, he's a negative 5.2 completion rate over expected, which is 8th lowest amongst guys with at least 20 such attempts. Bottom line, the Giants got to Deshaun Watson 8 times last week, with 9 different defenders notching at least a half a sack. Dex had 2. However, Dak has a positive 8.8% completion percentage over expected when under pressure, and they're opening up the playbook to find more answers with other receivers. If the Giants are to upset the Cowboys, then it won't just be Devin Singletary as the main back. It would likely be with crafty wide receiver run plays to keep Daniel Jones away from trouble. Final score, Dallas wins 25-20 in 56.6% of simulations, ranking 6th highest in confidence of 16. One fun list to leave you with. 5 guys with elevated touchdown scoring odds that may or may not be on your radar due to their recent performance, how they've done so far this season, aka guys with great opportunities this week. Number 1, Travis Kelce, who has the highest touchdown odds of any tight end in my model this week against the Chargers. Number 2, T. Higgins against the Panthers. It is now or never for that team. Number 3, Michael Wilson versus the Commanders. By the way, he had 9 targets against the Lions. He caught 8 of them. Marvin Harrison Jr. had 11 to round that out. And of course, he has massive touchdown odds as well. Xavier Legette. You thought I was only going to say Deontay Johnson, who does have high odds, but I'm going to go a little deeper here in Adam Thielen's absence. Okay, and last but not least, Jake Ferguson. I don't think he counts as being under the radar, but he does have good touchdown odds, and he's playing in TNF, so it rounds out this episode really nicely. Thank you so much for hanging out. We'll see you for the rest of the games for Week 4's action in a day or so.